Rosalina Africano, and I'm your host. Today I'm here with Chantal Tseng. We are at the upstairs space at the Gibson, and Sherry Week is coming up.
It is.
Sherry Week's coming up. I knew Chantal because over the years she's produced these awesome literature-inspired cocktails, and I'd see her at different places around town. But I happen to know you're probably the expert in DC when it comes to sherry education. Yes, I think so. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. I'd love to taste a few sherry. You have so many different types here.
I do.
Well, do you have a favorite, or does it go along with your mood?
A lot of it is mood. I'm very dry sherry oriented. There's a whole range, which I think you're familiar with, ranging from crisp, salty, manzanilla and almond husk like fino styles, which are all biologically aged sherries, less than a gram of sugar per liter. Then they start to move into more oxidative but still dry, like your amontillados, your palo cortados, and your olorosos. And then they get mixed with some sweeter sherries, which are like medium and cream sherries. And then you have your sweet range, which is just like PX and muscatel. We have a little bit of every one here to like, not quite all of it. There's no muscatels here, but there's a bottle to represent each category just for fun.
Just for fun. Well, why don't we do this? We're going to taste a few sherries and talk about the flavor notes in those. And then Chantal is going to make a sherry-based cocktail in honor of Sherry Week. What are the dates of Sherry Week?
November 7th through 13th for this year.
And will special menus be available here at the Gibson?
We're doing a really amazing sherry fair. I call it the mini sherry feria, where we take over not just this room. There's two other rooms on the second floor of the Gibson, and we have guest people. We have someone from Lustau, we have someone from PM Spirits, we have Hidalgo La Gitana, we have Valdespino, and we have a bunch of others, and they have their own little tasting sections, kind of like an actual tasting fair. Plus we'll be venencia pouring, and then we'll be mixing like mix and match rebujitos, which are highballs with fino and manzanilla.
That sounds fantastic.
Yes, and
that sounds fantastic.
Thank you. That'll be on Saturday, the 12th of Sherry Week.
And how do you attend? How do you find your path to get a reservation?
So everything's on the Sherry Week website. Things go up and get registered, and people all over the world can register an event. So you could do one. Like tomorrow, if you wanted to do a session, you could just get on the sherry.wine/Sherry Week website and go to the register event and put something together.
Got it. So there's going to be sherry events all over the world, but we're concentrating on the one that's going to be in here in DC.
We're
fantastic.
In DC, yes.
Fantastic. Well, why don't we taste a few and talk about how different they are. It seems like you could really have a taste of sherry for every mood.
Oh, you can. This is a very dry style. It's a fino that I'm really quite pleased with. It's a second line from Hidalgo La Gitana, but the brand is called Alejandro. And it's just a beautiful like dried apple notes that are kind of a little underrated in terms of its like price-cost ratio. Excellent for mixing cocktails, but I just kind of love it on its own.
Let me have a taste.
Yeah, and this is, you can kind of smell, it smells a little bit like fall, but in a crisp way.
I taste green grapes.
Mm-hmm.
Do I taste salt?
I love savory wines, which is what I talk about a lot when it comes to sherry. A lot of manzanillas, finos, and amontillados, they have a salty kind of character.
Okay.
They taste a little bit like the salty sea air in the ocean. They have biological aging, live yeast that live on top of the wine, and it gives you all this like fun complexity, this savory complexity. In the amontillado style, it comes out almost like umami.
Like umami.
Yeah.
Got it. Fantastic. What's the next one we'll taste?
I'm going to pour you an amontillado. This is a little bit, you'll see the color difference too. This one has oxidative aging, so now you have a little more color, a little more of those toffee amber tones compared to the fino, which is a little more pale.
Yeah, man. The Tio Diego.
Yep, this is Tio Diego, which means Uncle Diego, from Valdespino, which is the name of the old bodega. Now currently owned by a larger group called Grupo Esteves. They also own like La Gita, which is one of the most famous manzanillas in the world. But you'll notice here a much nuttier character. We have oxidation enter into the foray, so now you have a bit more of the nuttiness. So it's basically a Fino that has continued aging and now exposed to oxygen in an oxidative way, so it gets nuttier, there's more spice, and you have a longer finish, there's more complex notes. Great with nuts.
It does. Oh, look at these awesome nuts.
Hey, nuts.
What kind of nuts? What kind are these spice nuts?
These are, they're called deviled cashews.
Mmm.
They were from an event last night, and they're just full of spices, including tamarind and other types of like sweet salt situations, which sherry in general is really great for.
Does go well with nuts.
Oh, yeah. Food pairing wise, sometimes you have these combinations that are like sweet, sour, fermented, or pickled. That kind of throws Soms off their game a little bit.
Right.
But sherries just go, no, we got this. This will be fine. We can handle these extra like flair of flavors in terms of like that pickled, the fermented, the extra spice, or when you do like tangy, sweet, and sour at the same time.
And do the nuts, are they interacting with the sherry because of the fat content in the nuts? Is that what's making it feel like the flavors are dancing across my tongue?
There's a combination of all sorts of things happening which are creating the effect. Fat content's always good for pairing with wines, so is the spice and the sweet and the salt and all that coming together. Sherry has a way of adapting.
I see.
Like it'll also, like you have it with some olives and it'll be like, oh, this is the perfect pairing ever. And then you'll have it with nuts and go, just kidding, this is the perfect pairing ever. And then
I didn't mean that.
have it with like miso soup and go, oh, wait, why does that work so well? There's a whole range you can get into.
Got it. And they're just interacting flavors. All right. Did you have another sherry to taste, or would you like to?
Well, I'm gonna finish the dry style and let you taste an Oloroso, which has no biological aging, and it is a little richer in color.
Wow, it really is. Look at that difference.
Yeah, you can kind of see a little bit of a fall rainbow, if you will. And this one,
Ferraone.
yeah, Farone, I think.
Okay, got it. You know, I start to phonetically pronounce things incorrectly.
I mean, I don't actually speak Spanish, so.
Oh, that smells like caramel a little bit.
Yeah, so this one has no biological aging, so those savory tones you get from your manzanitas, your finos, and your amontillados are more undertoned, and you have more like rich, nutty spices and baking spices. You still have that nutty character. You have sometimes hints of furniture polish, depending on the age, and you have just more alcohol as well. These are fortified to a minimum of 17%, so usually the range for Olorosas are 17 to 22%. Actually, this one is 18%.
I hope you can see the difference in these three dry sherries, how pale the first one is versus how full caramel kicked in toward the third taste. They're all very delicious.
Yes.
They're all very delicious, and you know, if you're not in the mood for, you know, something cloyingly sweet, this is the way to go. And is the sherry usually sipped? Is it usually chilled? Is it usually served room temperature?
So the manzanitas and finos, usually you have those chilled like a white wine.
Mm.
All sherry is white wine, by the way. It can be confusing because the color gets richer in color. But manzanitas, finos, usually you serve those chilled like your classic white wine. You can serve amontillados chilled. They don't have to be. It could be a mood situation. Oxidative sherries, like the Oloroso, the Amontillado, Palo Cortados, whatnot, those can all be room temperature, like you're sipping. You can sip them out of a wine glass. You can sip them out of a rocks glass. You can sip them out of a snifter. Like, they're very variable. I like finos and manzanitas in a regular white wine glass. Because
I see.
It's great with food. I think when you see it in a wine glass, it also conveys the message, you should have me with food. Like, I'm good with food. I'm great with cocktail. I'm great with olives. I'm great with ceviche.
Right. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for those tastes. Shall we return these to their original position so that we can do what's next? Yeah, exactly.
We'll move on to some cocktails.
That sounds fantastic.
How
many sherry cocktails will be presented at Sherry Week here at the Gibson?
Well, at the Gibson, we're going to be doing mix and match rebujitos. That's very sherry area, where it's like a highball, like a fino or a manzanilla, with like lemon lime soda, with ginger ale, ginger beer. Like, I think we usually use a bitter Fever-Tree bitter lemon soda.
I love that.
And then you can switch out different mixers. So that's going to be the main menu. But for today, I'm just going to mix up 2 aromatic cocktails that you can make with fino and aquavit, and then a classic Adonis with Amontillado.
Fantastic. I'd love for you to demonstrate a few sherry cocktails.
So the first cocktail I'm going to mix up, I have dubbed the Witches because, as you mentioned earlier, I was making many different cocktails inspired by literature. One of them was Roald Dahl's storybook, The Witches.
Right.
So this is several years back, and it's an aquavit cocktail with chartreuse and manzanilla, although I am subbing in the Pinot because I have this lovely bottle open. That's another thing for a lot of when you're mixing with manzanilla or vino in cocktails. In a pinch, you can sub them in for each other because they're very similar with their biological character.
May I see the bottles that you're going to use? So we have the chartreuse, which is, I understand, getting harder to find, and they're going to start producing the vegetal version of the chartreuse, and that'll be delivered to the States soon. And Hovding,
yes.
Norwegian aquavit.
Yes.
And then again the Alejandro Fino, which we tasted earlier, which was delicious. I'm looking forward to it. I love chartreuse.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Let's do it.
All right. Well, what's nice about this, the Hovding Norwegian aquavit, is actually does see some sherry cask finishing as well. I'm gonna put 1.5 ounces into this mixing glass.
Now, what I'm clear about is anytime I enjoy a whiskey that's been aged in sherry casks, it's only better. It's only better.
Sherry casks are magic.
They are magic. So are whiskey casks, to be honest. So that was 1 ounce of the sherry.
Yep, and then 1/2 ounce of the grape chartreuse.
Yum. And I see you have some lovely Nick and Nora glasses. They're beautiful. They're etched. Chilling. They've been chilling for a while to a perfect chill.
Yeah, nice perfect chill. And I'm gonna add ice to my glass and stir it up. Yeah, it's been chilling for a while, but they're pretty good.
Oh, they look perfect to me. They have that perfect foggy hue.
Yeah, that nice little chill. I've been nice and perfectly. I'm not gonna warm up your cocktail when you pour me into.
That's exactly right. This didn't just come out of the washer.
Exactly. It's not steam that we're gonna.
My mouth is starting to water already. Oh, that's just a gorgeous color.
Nice little pale gold. Got a lemon peel here. Spritz that on top.
Beautiful.
And there you are.
Thank you very much. Now, does this cocktail have a name?
The Witches.
The Witches. You did say that.
I thought it would be a fun one. I am also a bit obsessed with aquavit and cocktails. You don't see a lot of them. But yeah, named for the Roald Dahl story, The Witches.
Got it.
It is Halloween weekend here.
It is Halloween weekend, and this is the perfect cocktail for Halloween. Thank you so very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. There's also usually a dill sprig, which is nice to go along with it if you have the beans.
Yeah, of course, of course. Well, it's a perfect cocktail. Thank you, Chantal.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun because you get to combine like the herbal elements of the aquavit with that sort of salty, savory character, and then that herbal nature of the chartreuse.
All right, what's next?
I'm going to make a classic Adonis cocktail, which I think most people who have had sherry cocktails before have heard of the Adonis. It's vintage. It's from like late 1800s, early 1900s, named for a Broadway play. Named for the first Broadway play that like made Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
And it's essentially, I always see it as a sherry Manhattan. So you're adding bitters, you're mixing with rouge vermouth, but you're not using whiskey, you're using...
Well, we have Regan's orange bitters, and we have Bitter Truth aromatic bitters.
Yeah, I like to use a dash of each.
Nice.
And then the goal is 2-to-1, the sherry to vermouth.
Uh-huh. And what type of vermouth do you use?
Well, today I'm using a Spanish vermouth. Oh, that was appropriate. It is the Hidalgo La Gitana vermouth, it's Rojo.
You know,
Do you want to try it on its
I would love to taste that. Do you know that when I was in Barcelona with a friend very recently, she was ordering vermouths. And I'm like, vermouth? She's like, no, it's vermouth. And this was the exact color. And she was drinking it over ice.
And this is how vermouth was first enjoyed, was by itself. And I mean, vermouth, just like sherry, is already a cocktail in a glass. You can mix it with other things. They're highly adaptable. They're part of this like wonderful fortified aromatized tradition of mixing. But you can just have it on its own over ice with an orange peel, splash of bitters, and it's a cocktail all on its own.
So Spanish vermouth. I need to add this to my bar.
Yes. So went ahead and put 2 ounces of the Tio Diego Amontillado and 1 ounce of the vermouth from
Yum.
Cabo.
Oh, vermouth. Vermouth.
Good. And then we had the dash of
Again, the
each orange
Tio
and the aromatic.
Diego Amontillado.
And the Adonis cocktail, there are many variations, particularly of bartenders who love mixing with sherry. You'll find anything from Amontillado, Oloroso. Some people use Fino, which creates a very different style of cocktail. But everyone has their own variation of it. The original classic, it comes from, being documented in cocktail books.
Right.
But old school cocktail books they were really bad about specifying details like, oh, use this type of sherry. Oftentimes it would say sherry or dry sherry.
Does that mean at the time that there was only one option? Use sherry. I mean, that the options were much more limited than they are now? Is that why they were less specific? Of course we don't know because we weren't there.
We weren't there. We can make some conjecture, we can guess, we can say, well, generally speaking, the sherry that shipped was probably oxidized because shipping the non-oxidized, Manzanilla type styles was probably a little more difficult. And there was a whole identity shift in terms of how Camilas and how Montanas came to be, how they were created in the first place, realizing that, when they travel, they actually oxidize, and that changes the character, and then realizing, we like this character, and that it became its own thing. But there's a whole other backstory, which we can only speculate truly, because all this stuff is documented exactly perfectly. This is a little orange peel. Spread that over the cocktail.
Well, these cocktails are like night and day. What did you call this cocktail again?
The Adonis.
The Adonis. I think they look like yin and yang.
They give you that sort of that pretty expression of the lighter, crisp herbal, and then you have something richer, warmer, spicier, and just demonstrating some of the range that you can get from the biological and then the oxidative styles when mixing.
Wow.
But yeah, you can also do different proportions with the Adonis, just like you can do different proportions for your Manhattans and your martinis. You can do, this is a 2-to-1, you could do equal parts for something sweeter. You can switch up your bitters if you want to use some chocolate bitters to accent the chocolate or some more spice.
I was expecting this one to be sweeter than this one for some reason. But they are both delicious. Both delicious and perfect for Sherry Week.
Yes.
Perfect for Sherry Week. Well, Chantal, I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge about, your extensive knowledge about sherry, because I would really have a hard time keeping them straight. And I also really appreciate the tastings and the cocktail. It was a delight to come to meet you today to talk about Sherry Week. And I look forward to seeing you second week of November. Say the dates again for me.
November 7th through 13th.
November 7th through 13th is Sherry Week. Come and see Chantal and her friends here at the Gibson in DC, or wherever you live. There may also be a Sherry Week event being held. It was a delight to be here today. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
I appreciate your time. This was awesome. See you next time. Bye.